In May of 2014, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, Morgan and Anissa held a sleepover and invited their friend, Peyton. They had all hung out many times before, but you could say that Peyton wasn't as tight with them as the other two were with each other. Little did Peyton know their reasoning behind her being invited was so that they could kill her and use her as a sacrifice to Slenderman to make him happy.
Chase the money, chase the money.
Alright, chat. Next video, the Slenderman child stabber has escaped. Oh my, yo, lock in, chat lock in, chat lock in, chat lock in.
Yep, the girl who stabbed her friend for Slenderman recently went on the run. 2025, the insanity never stops. I covered the Slenderman stabbing case on this channel a couple of years ago, and I never expected to discuss it again, but some truly questionable decisions by a judge and some medical professionals has resulted in a manhunt for an attempted killer.
It's been more than 24 hours since Geyser was last seen at her group home on Cronky Drive in Madison. Police say her whereabouts are still unknown at this.
Yo, he look mad young to be a news anchor. What the hell? Don't he look like 17, 18? Bro, on the news. W, that's tough.
This hour, and tonight we're learning more about the timeline between when she cut off that GPS monitor and when authorities were alerted.
In order to understand how we got here, though, you need a recap of what happened in this case, and you need to learn about some controversial details about the Slenderman stabber's punishment. The Slenderman stabbing case involved three 12-year-old girls, Morgan Geyser, Anissa Wire, and their victim, Peyton Leitner, all three from Waukesha, Wisconsin. They were friends, and the air quotes are needed here, which you'll find out why shortly. Morgan and Anissa had a disturbing fixation with online creepypasta stories, specifically the legend of Slenderman. And when Slenderman wanted them to execute a proxy killing, they were happy to oblige if it would appease him.
I might as well just say it. We were trying to kill her.
In May of 2014, in Waukesha, Wisconsin, Morgan and Anissa held a sleepover and invited their friend, Peyton. They had all hung out many times before, but you could say that Peyton wasn't as tight with them as the other two were with each other. Little did Peyton know their reasoning behind her being invited was so that they could kill her and use her as a sacrifice to Slenderman to make him happy. Morgan and Anissa have gone on record claiming that they believed if they didn't commit violence for Slenderman, he was going to kill them and their families. So the demented duo lures Peyton away to a nearby park the morning after their slumber party, and that's where Morgan produces a knife and stabs Peyton 19 times. They
Excuse me? 19 times? You're 12 years old and you stab somebody 19. You stab somebody, period. Doesn't even matter how many times you stab somebody, period.
leave her for dead and flee into the woods. Badly wounded and bleeding out, Peyton crawls up to a nearby roadside and is miraculously noticed by a passing cyclist who promptly calls 911, and because of this, she actually manages to get help and survive the attack. Several hours.
Nice! W! W, I thought she was dead. No, W, bro. That's fire. That's fire, bro. I thought she was dead, bro. Damn.
Years later, Morgan and Anissa would be found miles away walking down Interstate 94, and they were taken into custody for attempted homicide-related charges. Something that would become clear when it came to prosecuting these two 12-year-olds is that Morgan seemingly had no remorse for what she did, at least initially. During her interrogation, she remained cold, detached, and calmly explained that the only reason she did what she did was to appease Slenderman. It had to be done. You could say that her attitude was that of a hitman.
I might as well just say it. We were trying.
What were you trying to do when you stabbed her? Kill her. I might as well just say it. We were trying to kill her. Oh my gosh, bro. 12 years old?
To kill her.
What did you do next?
I already told you.
What was that?
Stab, 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 stab.
On the other hand, Anissa was very much immediately remorseful, with detectives noting her being visibly upset, crying, and asking if Peyton had survived the attack. She even reportedly let out a sigh of relief when they told her that the girl was still alive. It became clear early on that Morgan was the crazier of this bunch and Anissa was more of a naive accomplice. The courts would certainly see it this way too. Now, considering the whole Slenderman told me to kill people element of the story and the fact that they were both 12 years old at the time, it might not be all too surprising for you to learn that both of them were found not guilty by reason of insanity. But they wouldn't be turned loose after that. Wisconsin law requires those given a not guilty by insanity ruling to be institutionalized by the state. Anissa was initially committed to serve 25 years under the custody of the Wisconsin Department of Health Services, whereas the knife-wielding Morgan was committed to serve 40 years in a state psychiatric hospital, specifically the Winnebago Mental Health Institute in Oshkosh, Wisconsin, which is where both of the girls were actually sent when it came time to, be monitored. Now, this is where things get a bit interesting.
Whoa. Yo, Matt, what up, my boy?
And moves into the territory of Morgan escaping and going missing for a time. In July of 2021, Anissa Weier was actually granted a conditional release from the state hospital after responding well to treatment. She's no longer believing in Slenderman, she's not psychotic or psychopathic, and has consistently expressed profound remorse for her part in the attack on Peyton. As a result of this, she was given a conditional release which allowed her to live with her father, though she was still under DHS supervision for a bit and had to wear a GPS monitor. As far as I'm aware, she hasn't caused any trouble since this. Morgan, seeing this, would also make efforts to get a conditional release of her own, but to put it lightly, it's been quite difficult for her to get one because, well, it seems that she still might be dangerous. Morgan's case is just far more complicated. While in custody, she was diagnosed with childhood onset schizophrenia and has reportedly suffered repeated flare-ups of psychosis since being committed. While she has expressed more consistent remorse about the attack on Peyton, that has only come in recent years when she's been trying to get a conditional release. We gotta note how violent her attack was, 19 stab wounds. That's going to be taken into account when we're talking about letting somebody off easier and putting them into a DHS supervision that's a step belower than a hospital. Other troubling developments include reports that allege Morgan has used the internet while in the psychiatric hospital and sent violent communications to an individual on the outside. Another report that I've seen from ABC News claims that Morgan was allegedly caught reading a book pertaining to sexual sadism while she was in the hospital. All of these potential issues were discussed during Morgan's appeal for conditional release earlier this year, but
Chat, what is sexual sadism? Hold on. What is sexual sadism? Is a mental health condition, specifically a disorder, characterized by intense and persistent sexual arousal from the physical or psychological suffering of another. She get aroused from the suffering of somebody else?
despite the concerns levied, in July of 2025, Waukesha County Circuit Judge Scott Wagner approved a conditional release plan that would allow Morgan to serve her committance under more lenient terms. Though given Morgan's past, her plan was a bit more stringent, at least compared to Anissa. In recent months, Morgan has been turned loose from the psych hospital and was allowed to live in a group home in Madison, Wisconsin. She was still under strict supervision though, and had to wear a GPS ankle monitor. She lived here with other people in this halfway house setting. I've seen reports claim that she got there around October, but it could have been a bit sooner than that. Just know that she hasn't been there long. Now keep in mind, Morgan had to work extremely hard for years to get this conditional release. Surely she won't screw this up or do anything insane, right?
Police in Wisconsin say a young woman at the center of the Slenderman stabbing case is now on the run.
On the evening of Saturday, November 22nd, Morgan went missing from her group home. Her ankle monitor was reportedly cut and she was seemingly on the run. The local police were notified early Sunday morning. Not long after, a surveillance photo reportedly showing Morgan was published by law enforcement, and curiously, she was with somebody. Now, this is quite the disturbing scenario, as it seems as though Morgan, with this action is literally proving that she's not reformed. The moment they gave her just a little bit of slack, she ran off with some mysterious stranger, allegedly. And you know, you gotta wonder, like, is she going to commit violence? I hate to even say it, but your mind can't help but go there. I mean, dude, is she gonna go after Peyton again? Like, can you imagine how unsettling it was for Peyton and her family to hear the news of Morgan escaping like this? I mean, Jesus Christ. Now, I would be telling you all to keep an eye out and call 911 if you see Morgan, but thankfully, the manhunt issued for her has been proven successful. On the evening of November 23rd, Morgan was found by police in Posen, Illinois. She was found with a 42-year-old individual at a truck stop in the area. It appears the 42-year-old traveled with Morgan across state lines by bus. According to reports, police responded to a complaint regarding two people loitering behind the building. When cops arrived, they found Morgan and the 42-year-old sleeping on the sidewalk back there. Police alleged that Morgan initially gave them a fake name, but when pressed, she admitted that she didn't want to tell them who she was because she had previously, quote, done something bad, unquote, and even suggested that they should, quote, just Google her. When found, both individuals were detained, and according to AP News, the 42-year-old has been charged with trespassing and obstructing identification. The two apparently described themselves as being friends, but I really don't have enough information to elaborate any further on that piece. We don't know anything about why she did this or what her motives were, but something is very blatantly clear to me. Morgan is not reformed, she wasn't ready to be released from the psychiatric hospital, and the people who pushed for her conditional release might need to spend a day or two in the psych ward themselves. I mean, okay, like the last part's obviously a joke, but this is an embarrassing fuck up by the state. The judge is probably regretting his approval big time right now. You know, just in time to ruin Thanksgiving, I guess. Just wrapping up here, I gotta say, I'm so relieved they found more.
Damn, chat, what do y'all think, bro?
Watching over my hair like surveillance. Austin 90 out in Vegas.